Tonight, truly shocking new evidence in the case against Casey Anthony. Just released raunchy, and I mean raunchy, new photos of Casey Anthony, which showed the alleged murderer's very wild side, and I mean very. The pictures released on Radar Online show Casey Anthony sharing a passionate kiss with another young woman before jumping on a guy for a quick lap dance. The images are from 2006 when little Kaylee was just 14 months old. Can these revealing photos be used against her in the murder trial? And could these photos, exclusive to entertainment outlet Radar Online, come up in tomorrow's court hearing? Casey will be back in court tomorrow to hear her attorneys argue about any book or movie deals they may or may not have made. Could any deals influence the case or be a conflict of interest for her defense attorneys? Plus, we will track Casey Anthony's cell phone records from the very day investigators say little Kaylee Anthony was murdered June 16th. Casey told her dad, George Anthony, she went to work that day, but the records tell a much different story. Casey hung around the Anthony home for hours. Just what was she doing during that uninterrupted time? Meanwhile, the Zenaida Gonzalez defamation case against Casey heats up. Two private eyes who have worked with the Anthony family, Dominic Casey and James Hoover, set to be deposed tomorrow. What will their testimony reveal? So many issues, but first, my fantastic panel. Mark James, former attorney for George and Cindy Anthony. Drew Finling, Atlanta criminal defense attorney. Steve Cardian, former criminal investigator. And Rebecca Rose Woodland, criminal defense attorney. Plus, and do we need one tonight? Terry Lyles, psychologist. Terry, we have to start with you. Let's get a psychological analysis of these shocking new photos showing Casey first making out with a young woman and then giving a young man a lap dance at the very same party. Would you agree that this is kind of indiscriminate hypersexuality that has a somewhat manic quality to it?
Well, I think you're probably pretty close to that, because what happens is, I mean, you're seeing something in her life that obviously wasn't manifested to possibly even her parents and others around her unless they knew that side of her. I guess the question comes up is, you know, what kind of a parent was she? And the responsibility thing that we've talked about on other shows really comes up here, not being around, you know, her daughter and out partying, acting like, you know, a 22, 23-year-old girl. But yet the responsibility issue, I think, is really something that's really going to have to be looked at.
I guess I was looking more at underneath all this manic behavior, what is going on from a psychological standpoint? Is there anger? Is there acting out because of discomfort? Let me say that this was 2006. Sure. About a year later, Casey told a friend she thought she was having a nervous breakdown. Do you see in these photos a person who is headed perhaps toward a nervous breakdown?
Well, I don't know about a nervous breakdown, but obviously she's running away from her responsibilities in her life. So many times people that feel, you know, that kind of pressure under stress run away to try to hide and sometimes, you know, take on another lifestyle that hardly anybody else knows about. And that's kind of what it looks like, that she's kind of living this duality of life, because she's running from possibly, you know, her mom's situation and her own daughter's situation. And, you know, now we're seeing that side of her exposed even more so.
Double life, toxic secrets, always at the center of very sad, tragic situations. Let's take another look at the racy photos of Casey released today on Radar Online. Specifically, these pictures show a very wild side of Casey. In this one, she is kissing another young woman. Nothing wrong with that, but this is a wild party situation where moments later she appears to be giving a man a lap dance. So at this point, her little daughter is 14 months old. That's the issue here. Rebecca Rose Woodland, can these photos be introduced as evidence in the criminal case, given that a motive could be that she wanted to party, she didn't want the responsibility of being a parent to a toddler?
You know, I think it's quite a stretch, Jane, to show photos of one night where she may have had a babysitter, the baby may have been with her parents. Is she wild in these photos? Arguably, yes, but that doesn't mean that she's a bad mother. Nor does it mean that she killed her child. The prosecution would have to prove the prejudicial value versus the importance to the case. And I think it will be very difficult for the prosecution to say this is more important than prejudicial to the defendant. If I were her attorney.
You know, this is not the first time we've seen photos like this. We've seen wild photos of her partying over and over again. Is there a cumulative effect here where somebody could say ultimately, yes, this is relevant?
Well, no, there really isn't, because another characteristic you have to look at is whether or not it indicates a bent of mind. That is a disposition to harbor away and kill your child. And clearly going out partying has nothing to do with harboring away and killing your child. Now, the flip side is, first of all, it's completely irrelevant. It won't be admitted. But let's say it is admitted, and let's say that the defense says, sure, admit it. The reason why they may admit it is, hey, look, when her child was alive, she certainly went out and partied. She made out with girls, she made out with guys, she lap danced. She had no reason to secret away her child and kill her child because she had just as much fun when her child was alive. So that's something the defense may come back with.
Oh, that's a very interesting tack that you're taking there, and maybe they'll use that if these do get entered. But I agree with that. I think the chance of them being entered as evidence is remote. The cell phone records released as part of all this new evidence could be, however, particularly damaging to the defense. They will undoubtedly get in. They show Casey's location on the very day she may have killed, plus very important following day information. Let's analyze this. The cell records show that on Monday, June 16th, the last day Kaylee was seen alive and the day that little Kaylee may have been killed, Casey stayed in the area of her parents' home until 4 p.m., although her dad, George, stated she left at noon to go to work. Of course, we later learned she didn't have a job to go to. Later that same day, Casey was spotted at a Blockbuster video, and records show she spent the night at her boyfriend, Anthony Lazzaro's apartment. No Kaylee anywhere. Tuesday afternoon, the 17th, things start to get really fishy. Casey returned to her parents' home at about 2 p.m. At 2:45, Casey drove around the area of the Orlando International Airport. At about 4:30 p.m., Casey drove around the remote area surrounding the University of Central Florida before finally returning to her boyfriend's apartment for the night. Wow. I'd like to get the analysis of Steve Cardian. You're a criminal investigator. Does it look like, can the prosecution argue, hey, she killed a child and she was looking for a place to dump the body?
That's something that they I'm sure, are seriously looking at. I mean, they did a historical recovery of her phone records, and it's kind of like using your credit card, Jane. Every time you use it, you're going to receive information that's going to show the number dialed, you're going to see the date and time, and you're going to show the tower and the sector that tower is hit on. So you could follow her around all day as long as she keeps using that cell phone.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying, and maybe I'll go back to Rebecca Rose Woodland on this, it does seem very odd the day after little Kaylee was last seen that suddenly Casey Anthony's driving around these remote areas. For what reason?
I don't know. I mean, we will find out if of course, these records will be admitted, and there may be a possibility that there is a reason. I don't know that they'll put her on the stand, so we may never hear the reason. But again, that's all circumstantial. Well, she drove around. Maybe she was just taking a ride. Maybe these are places she goes regularly. Maybe she stopped by to get a coffee somewhere. I mean, there are always reasonable excuses
Jane,
for behavior.
True.
I don't want to grade anybody's paper, but this has been a theme of mine consistently when you and I talk about this case, and that is, I would agree with the last statement, but this is not a defense team that has remained silent and is waiting to give us their extensive theory at trial. They've been talking to the media constantly, and they've married themselves to the absolutely ridiculous statements that their client has made. These statements are stupid. That's what they are. They're stupid.
You're talking about Zanny took the baby?
Exactly. And looking for a job at the Universal her job at Universal Studios. These statements are ridiculous, and the defense has married themselves to those statements. So as long as they remain married, and it's probably too late unless the defense team changes, they are relevant, and they're damning these cell phone records that show the towers. They're damning. They would not have been. I repeat, they would not have been, but for the fact the defense has married themselves to all of the ridiculous statements that Casey has made.
Well, Mark DJ, I know that you can't really talk about the specifics of the case, but do you feel in general that any particular defense has been decided on, or is essentially we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the courtroom because we could be in for a big surprise?
Yeah, I mean, I think that your last panelist hit it on the head. They have made these statements repeatedly. The defense team, of which I was never part of, but they made these statements repeatedly, and they're somewhat stuck with them. It wouldn't surprise me if they switch it out at the last second, attempting to catch the prosecution off guard. But some of these statements that they've been making are very damning.
All right. Well, more analysis from my expert panel in just moments. Stunning new reports